Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. If you follow nutrition at all, you already know we live in an era of super complex formulas, macro tracking apps, and constantly shifting dietary trends. Honestly, we're all incredibly susceptible to decision fatigue. But today's source material, it takes a radically minimalistic approach. It strips away all the noise, all that complicated math, and gives us literally one unshakable rule to navigate the modern supermarket. Now, this isn't about learning some groundbreaking new nutritional science. I mean, you already know what a vegetable is, right? Instead, this is really about mastering grocery store psychology. It's about using a highly restrictive framework to completely eliminate cognitive load, building an environment where success is just the absolute default.
So, here is the core mantra, extracted directly from our text. I want to let these words really sink in. Healthy grocery shopping focuses on whole foods, including vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, lean proteins, yogurt, nuts, and seeds. And that's it. Our source material establishes this not just as, a casual suggestion or a loose guideline, but as an absolute, definitive boundary for your shopping cart. There's no ambiguity here to get lost in. There are no complicated point systems, no cheat days built into the text, and definitely no hidden exceptions. It is a definitive declaration of exactly what should be passing through that checkout lane.
Now, in reviewing our source document, something truly fascinating happens with that specific phrase. The text literally repeats this exact identical sentence dozens of times, just over and over again. It doesn't elaborate, and it definitely doesn't deviate. It basically operates like a rhythmic chant designed to cut completely through modern diet confusion. By repeating this single sentence endlessly, the source is telling us, hey, we don't need a 1,000-page dictionary of chemical additives to eat well. We just need a cognitive anchor so deeply rooted that it becomes our automatic default setting when we're forced to make choices.
So that brings us to the ultimate question. What does this relentless repetition actually mean in practice for your next grocery trip? How do you take an uncompromising philosophy like this and apply it to a real-world scenario where you're being, let's face it, visually assaulted by an entire aisle of fluorescent cereal boxes and checkout line end caps practically begging for your attention? Well, it requires a massive shift in mindset. It means putting on a pair of mental blinders the second those automatic sliding doors open and actively ignoring the engineered temptations of the modern grocery store.
So, the crucial point here is that before we even begin to look at the specific items on the list, everything begins and ends with focusing solely on whole foods. The source explicitly uses the phrase, focuses on whole foods. Notice it doesn't say incorporates or suggests. It says focuses. This is a demand for singular, undivided attention. It creates a binary choice for every single item you encounter. If an item in the store doesn't fit under this massive, defining umbrella, it simply doesn't exist for you on this shopping trip. It effectively shrinks a giant supermarket down to just a few key aisles. Let's define whole foods exactly as our text presents it. The source doesn't treat whole foods as just some trendy health buzzword. It presents it as a highly actionable, closed ecosystem for your shopping cart. It's strictly defined by the items that follow it in the sentence. We are talking about food in its natural, unmodified state acting as a restrictive boundary. If an item requires you to decode a whole paragraph of lab-made, unpronounceable ingredients on the back of a package just to figure out what you're eating, well, it simply falls outside this ecosystem. You've already strayed from the foundational law.
And here is where the brilliance and, honestly, the relief of this text really shines. 8. There are exactly 8 specific food categories named in our source material, no more, no less. It is a beautifully contained system designed specifically to reduce your cognitive load. By limiting the universe of healthy shopping to exactly 8 categories, the source makes this list incredibly simple to remember. You don't need a complex spreadsheet, you don't need a barcode scanning app, or even a notepad. You just need to hold that single number in your mind to successfully navigate the entire store. Let's walk through this definitive list of pillars right now. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, lean proteins, yogurt, nuts, seeds. I strongly urge you to memorize this exact sequence. Whisper it to yourself in the car. Recite it while you're grabbing your cart. These 8 categories are your only map. They represent the absolute entirety of what the source material deems necessary for healthy grocery shopping. Once you know them by heart, the rest of the grocery store essentially becomes invisible, saving you time, money, and a whole lot of willpower.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because to make this effortless to remember, we can conceptualize this sequence in 2 manageable halves based on their nutritional function. First, you have your foundational, fiber-rich plant bases: vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and beans.
These are the high-volume items that usually anchor your meals and keep your digestion on track. Then, you round out your fuel with the final 4 categories: lean proteins, yogurt, nuts, and seeds. These provide the essential amino acids, healthy fats, and targeted nutrients that your body needs to recover and thrive. It's really a perfect biological balance.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we can actually visualize your overall grocery haul as a balanced 5-part harmony. Imagine dividing your shopping cart or even your daily dinner plate into these specific functional sections. You dedicate a large section entirely for veggies and fruits, another substantial section for whole grains and beans, a dedicated portion just for lean proteins, your yogurt, and finally a concentrated section for your dense energy sources, nuts and seeds. It covers all the nutritional bases perfectly. It gives your body exactly what it needs to function at a high level without introducing a single ounce of outside complexity.
Now, why are we strictly limiting ourselves to these 8 whole food categories? Well, because of the ultimate goal stated right in the title of our source material: weight loss. This isn't just about general wellness or feeling a little more energetic. It is a deeply disciplined framework designed to mathematically crowd out the calorically dense, highly processed foods that absolutely hijack your goals. By filling up exclusively on these high-volume, high-satiety whole foods, you naturally regulate your appetite. You create a caloric deficit without constantly feeling deprived or meticulously weighing every single ounce of your food.
This framework serves as your ultimate, inescapable mental checklist for your next store visit. I highly encourage you to take a mental snapshot of this. When you're standing in the middle of the store, surrounded by thousands of engineered temptations specifically designed by food scientists to break your willpower, use these 8 categories as your absolute anchor. Just ask yourself a very simple question. Does this item fit neatly into one of these 8 buckets? If the item in your hand does not, you put it right back on the shelf. It really is that simple, and it is incredibly powerful when applied consistently.
Now, what's really interesting here is that hearing this exact same mantra again feels completely different now, doesn't it? Because now we've completely deconstructed it. We understand the unyielding focus on the closed ecosystem of whole foods, the macro balance of the 8 specific categories, and how it acts as a robust shield for your weight loss goals by naturally managing caloric density. When you process this sentence now, it isn't just a list of ingredients anymore. It's a comprehensive, heavily vetted behavioral strategy for your health. The repetition of our source text makes total sense. It's a philosophy you just have to deeply ingrain into your habits.
Which leaves us with one final, provocative question. Are you ready? Are you truly ready to focus your very next shopping trip purely on these whole foods? Do you have the discipline to ignore the flashy marketing, the impulse buys at the checkout counter, and the endless aisles of processed distractions, and stick exclusively to this simple, powerful list of 8? The behavioral blueprint for healthy grocery shopping and sustained weight loss has been laid out clearly. The next move in the supermarket